Welcome to Cleaning with Chaos. As you can see, I have the Sergeant Fury that I featured on my Freeform Variety video. Let me get a little bit better focus if I can. And we're going to take this to the next level. But I'm not going to do it the way you expect. I'm not going to be using my Immaculate, or my Immaculate from Immaculate Comics. I'm going to show you a method that I used to wet clean comics probably 35 years ago. It worked then. I imagine it will work now. Now, back then I didn't use distilled water. I just used plain water. And you could do it that way. Distilled water is a little better. But we'll go into all of that in just a few minutes. Now this uses common things you find around the house. Most people have this stuff around your house. So let's get started. Okay. We're going to have to assume that we have a few things. The first thing we're going to have to assume is that you have the comic book you want to clean. I know that's a pretty big assumption, but that's what we're going to assume. The next thing I'm going to assume is that you have a couple of pieces of typing paper. Typing paper, copy paper, any type of paper. Thicker is better, but regular plain paper is fine. A measuring cup. This goes up to 1 cup. We're not going to need that much. All we need is a quarter. So anything that'll hold 1/4 cup of water. You can use regular water. I'm going to use distilled water for this. And I'm going to put it's just a little over a cup of water. Next thing you'll need is a small saucer. I have this one that I'm using. This is like for little bits of extra stuff for a Korean meal, you know, like what they call banchan, kimchi or something like that, or whatever. They put it in these little bowls and then you eat it with the rice and the other stuff. We're going to need, but any saucer or any small plate would work. So, the last thing you're going to need is a heat source. And for that, I'm going to use my travel iron. Regular full-size iron will work just fine for what we're going to do. First thing, we're going to take this and we're going to go put 3 drops of dishwashing liquid in it. Now, I use Dawn, and that's what I recommend people use because it's, I mean, if it's good enough to clean a duck, you could probably use it to clean your comics, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put my 3 drops of Dawn in here, and then I'm going to put this in the microwave for 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay, that's in the microwave still. 30 seconds is a long time to heat a 1/4 cup of water. Finally, need a piece of parchment paper. So, here we go. We're going to take my Sergeant Fury. I'm going to set it down here. My water is ready. I'm going to take a backing board, shiny side down, and I'm going to put it under the cover like this. And then I'm going to take those, I'm only going to use 1 sheet of paper right now. Put that under there, like that. And you see, now I can overlap it and it's not a problem. Finally, I'm going to take my piece of parchment paper and my iron, and all I'm doing is heating up the comic. I'm not trying to flatten it, I just want it warmed up. Nice and warm to the touch. Let me go get the water. Now there is one more thing you're going to need. It's a washcloth. They're pretty cheap. You'll understand in a few minutes. I also have a paper towel. That's not really necessary, I just have it. And what I'm going to do, and the reason I heat the water up, this is still warm, the reason I heat the water up first is it lets the soap mix better with the water. And I'm just going to pour a little tiny bit into my saucer. I don't want to put very much in there. Get it on the washcloth. And I'm going to go over the comic. The same way that I do with the ImmacuClean. It's exactly the same method. And you get dirt. That's one of the ways you can do it. Get the water on there again. Lots of dirt coming off of that. And I like to use I used to use these because I could wash them and reuse them many, many times. Then you let it dry. And we'll be right back. I'm going to let it dry, then we'll be right back. Okay, it's fairly dry. It's a little tiny bit damp still, but that's okay. But it's cooled off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my parchment paper and we're going to warm it back up again. Nice and warm. Take a little bit more of my soap solution here. I'm gonna go over it again. Now I know some of you are probably having a fit that I'm actually putting soapy water on the comic book, that I'm cleaning it like this. But this absolutely does work, and I've done it in the past. Look at all that dirt I got off of it. I got even more this time. Once again, let it dry. I'm going to get a second saucer of because this one has soap on it and I don't want soap on it, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to take this one. We're going to put it off to the side because I don't want to get it confused. I have another one, and all I'm going to do with this one, put a little tiny bit of water in it. Just plain distilled water. Take my washcloth to an area that I haven't used before. So I use the center to clean the comic with. So I'm going to use one of the ends now, one of the corners. Get it damp. And this is just plain water. We're going to heat this up one more time. And with just plain water now, I'm going to go over this again. And what I'm doing now is I'm trying to take the soap off of it. Obviously, using cotton rounds would be better. Now, is this better than ImmacuClean? No. ImmacuClean is specifically formulated to clean paper, to clean these comics. Dishwashing liquid isn't. But it does work. If you can't afford it and you want to get your comics a little cleaner, you can use this to do it. I'm showing you ways that you can clean your comics with stuff that you have around your house. Erasers. Who doesn't have dishwashing liquid? Nearly everybody does. If you don't have it, go spend 98 cents on some. But if you can afford it, go to Immaculate Comics, get their product. It's better. Now we're going to take it and we're going to turn it over and we're going to do the other side. Going to see what it does to this down here. I know it's not going to do anything with it. I know it's not going to remove this stain. Now I will end up pressing this because I have the press. But if you don't have a press, I'm going to show you what you can do for that too. So, switch these out. Get my parchment paper. Warm up the back of the comic. Delco, get off the wire. He decided to lay on top of the wire. What can I do? He's being a cat. At least he's not chewing on the wire. Comic's nice and warm. Take our washcloth, fold it in a different area. Use my soapy water solution. Just a little bit. And the reason I only put a little bit in there is because I don't want it to have so much that it's going to soak up too much of it. And we're going to start going over the comic. Look at that dirt. I'll have to put a little more in there. I just spill a little bit in there. This has an added benefit. You see, I didn't realize there was a crease here. But as soon as I got it a little damp, that crease comes out and you can see it just as plain as day. Again, it took quite a bit of dirt off of there. Okay, we're going to let it dry, then we're going to do it again. Put my parchment paper down. Warm the top, warm the comic book up. You can see that has a tear there too. Now I'm going to try something a little different on this one. We're going to see if we can get a little bit of that stain to come out. And the way I'm going to do that, get a little of my soapy water. Take an old backing board if I can find one. Oh wait, I have a couple of them right here. So I have actually two of them. And what I'm going to do is we're going to soak this. I just went ahead and dipped the washcloth right into the solution. I want it nice and wet. And then we're going to take that piece of paper towel and see if we can't pull out some of that stain. This would probably work, but it would take a while. Take the paper towel and stick it underneath. Look, see that yellow? Some of the stain has come out. I'm going to take the paper towel, put it down here. And if you look, it is a little bit lighter. So it did take some of it out. I don't think I'm going to continue with that right now. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to show you that. Let's go ahead and go back to what we were doing. I'm going to use the other piece of paper because I only put the soap on here one time. Warm up the entire comic. Use a different area of the washcloth. Quite a bit of dirt. Got to let it dry. I'm going to dry it fast, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to iron it dry. Because I want to get this video finished, I want to get it published and out there. I have other things I need to get done. I've been doing other things today. I still have to do all my invoices from Friday's auction. Fairly dry. Switch it out. This still has a little water in it. That's fine. Go over it with just water to try to remove some of that soap. Again, quite a bit of stuff is coming off of it. I want it to dry pretty quick, so once again I'm just going to use the iron to get it dry. It's not going to dry it completely, but it'll get a lot of it off, a lot of it dry. Now, of course, I'm going to put this in my press, but what happens if you don't have a press? You want it to stay flat. You don't want it to curl up on you. Well, just put a backing board on the back, put a backing board on the front, and I know all of you probably have a stack of comics. Throw an old stack of comics on it, let it sit for a couple of days. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. Do I recommend this method? Not really. If you do decide to do it, don't use a washcloth. Go spend a little money and get some of these. I think I paid 98 cents for these. It's got 80 in there. That's enough to do plenty of comics. I don't necessarily recommend doing this simply because there are other methods that are better. But if you're on a budget and you don't have much money and you got to get it done, yeah, fine. Go for it. Do what you got to do. Get the comics to look nice. I'm going to go put this in my press. I'll be back. Then we'll take care of it from there. Now, some of you might be wondering, can you use this to clean magazines? And the answer is absolutely yes. This is a copy of Flying Saucer UFO Report number 2 from 1967. I used the same method. I used the erasers. I used the Dawn water. And I cleaned the front and back. It's waiting to go into the press. Of course, I can't put it in the press right now because the Sergeant Fury is still in there. But you absolutely can use the same method. You can use this to clean your magazines, your comics, your paperback books, your hardback books, pretty much anything you have. The main thing is you'd want to remember is you don't want to soak the page too much. You want to get it damp, not soaking wet. Get it a little damp to remove the surface dirt. That's all you want to do. And once that's done, you want to use a water solution, just pure water, to remove the soap. You want to get all of the soap off of it if possible. And it works. I mean, is it better than this? No, absolutely not. This is the stuff you want to use. But if you've got a comic to clean and you don't have that and you need to do it quick, go get your Dawn dish soap. Make yourself a little... Make sure you have the whatever you're cleaning, make sure you have it warmed up. Make sure it's warm, because that relaxes the paper and allows the dirt to come off easier. That's all I've got for you right now. I will scan the comic and show it to you at the end. Once it's finished pressing, I'll go ahead and scan it, and then I'll upload the whole thing. And I think I've got a scan of it before I started this. After I cleaned it, but before I started it. So we'll take a look at it, and there you go. Now remember, that Sergeant Fury is not going to be available for sale. It is going in my permanent collection, or my personal collection, whichever you want to call it. This, on the other hand, will go up for sale at some point. I'm just not sure when or who I'm going to sell it to. Actually, I have a good idea of somebody that might want it. So, That's it. Make sure if you're not subscribed to the channel, I implore you to go ahead and subscribe to it. Click the notification button so you don't miss anything like this, that you never know when I'm going to publish. You want to go ahead and check out my other videos. I do publish videos 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and more often than not, I have at least one more that I publish just whenever it's ready. Take the time to leave a comment. If you like what you saw and you learned something, leave a comment. Let me know. Is this the kind of stuff you want to see? If you don't tell me, I have to assume that you don't want to see it. If you don't leave a like, I have to assume that you didn't like it. All those assumptions means I stopped doing it. You stop learning, I stop teaching. It's really that simple. We don't want that to happen. If you want to support the channel, you can join my Patreon, or you can leave me a cup of coffee. You know, all the links for that is down below, as well as links to other people's videos. Make sure you check out some of those other people's channels. They do some good content and they're worth watching. And most of all, make sure before you start doing anything like this, you wash your hands. Good for your comics, good for your toys, good for your magazines. Most of all, it's good for your health. And we'll see you next video. Bye.